In this video, we're going to just take a quick look at how to create our first Python program using the PyCharm IDE. I'm assuming that you've already downloaded and installed Python 3, whatever the latest version is of that, and then obviously that you've installed PyCharm. If you haven't done those two things, you need to stop here, go back to the materials in Canvas or the book, and get those things installed before we can get started. Once you're back with us and we're ready to create this, notice that PyCharm, the first time I run it, pops up this welcome screen. Yours might look a little different because I've run it before, and so it has some things already there to work with. Before I get going, the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure I have a way to organize all of my Python code, because as the semester goes on or the term goes on, I'm going to end up with a lot of files, and it's going to be a nightmare to keep track of things when I want to find them later. I happen to be on a Mac. It's going to be essentially identical on Windows, and it's going to even look the same for the most part. The first thing I'm going to do is create a folder for this, and it doesn't matter where you put the folder. You want to put it someplace you can find later, someplace you won't accidentally delete. I'm just going to use the Documents folder. Okay, and if I right-click somewhere out in space, or I guess that's Command-click for people who don't have right-click, I can say New Folder. On a Mac, I can also do a new folder that way, but it'll be the same on Windows. Right-click out in space and create a new folder. And I'm going to give it the name of whatever class I'm in, CIS 156 in this case, or maybe it's CIS 256, whatever. And because I'm running two different IDEs, I'm going to put PyCharm on mine so that my PyCharm projects can go there. And then I'm going to go inside that folder, and I want to organize this into a file structure. Now, you should use whatever your instructor requires you to use if they specify. If they don't, then a real basic way to do this is I have my folder for my class, and then I'm just going to have folders for each module or lesson in the class. And I won't make you watch me set up a bunch of these, but you get the idea, right? It's just going to be Module 1, Module 2, and so on. The only thing I'll add is that I also like to have a folder that I just call it a sandbox, that idea of a place to play. So that sometimes I just like, oh, I want to try something. It's not really related to the class, or it's not really related to an assignment. I'm going to put that in the sandbox. But the idea now is I have all these modules, and I have to remember when I create a new project to put it in the right spot. And now whenever I need to go back and find it, like to submit it, or if oh man, I remember in Module 3 I did something that would be really helpful now, it's going to make it a lot easier to find that. With that folder structure created, I'm going to go back to PyCharm here, and I am going to say New Project. You can probably also get this from the File menu. I'm not as familiar with PyCharm as I am. I use VS Code most of the time, but PyCharm is great. It's going to pop up this little user interface for creating a project, and the most important thing I want to do, browse to that folder that I just created. Again, I had used PyCharm before this video, so it has some things it remembers. But I'm going to go to Documents, I'm going to go to that PyCharm, and I'm going to create this one in the Module 1 folder. So I'm going to click all the way into there and say Module 1. I need to give permission if I'm on a Mac. You shouldn't have to do that on Windows. The rest of this is it's going to talk about what version of Python you're using. Yours will certainly be different than mine, and that's fine. And I'll go ahead and click Create. I've got this little project view over here on the left. I can toggle that on and off if I want to get rid of it. If I right-click on Module 1 and say New, I can create a new Python file. I can also use this little button up here for a new file, and I can also go File, New File, or Directory. Okay, I like to just right-click, New Python file, and it's going to ask me for a name. So I'm going to call this one First Program.py. So .py indicates that it's a Python file, and now it's going to open up in an editor where I can work with this. The first two things I'm going to do, and it's mostly for the sake of the video, so you might not need to do that, I'm going to minimize this project window, and then I want to make this bigger so that it shows up better on the video. by zooming in. So I'm going to go to the View menu, Appearance, and Zoom IDE. I can pick whatever I want off this list, and it kind of previews as I go. I'll do 150 just to hopefully make that a little more visible. All right, before I start writing code, the habit I need to get into is putting a comment block at the top that explains what this program is. Your instructor probably has a format they want you to use, but if they don't, or if you're not writing this for a class, then the basic idea is I just want to provide some information about what this program is, who created it, and what it's supposed to do. And these, you'd call them hash marks, I suppose. I call them pound signs. These pound signs or number signs are code comments, so they get ignored when the program is run. I can put whatever I want here. This is meant for the human to read, not the computer. And that's my comment block for this program. Again, go with whatever your instructor requires there. And now I'm ready to write some actual code. The most basic line of code we can do is a print statement. And you can see I've got my AI completion turned on, and so I'm going to turn that off in just a moment, and there's all kinds of information about that elsewhere. But I didn't know I had it turned on, and I find it really annoying. I also think there's problems with students using that when they're trying to learn. But I'm going to say hello world like that. In fact, let me turn that off before I forget. So I'm going to go to my settings menu, open the settings, and I don't remember what this is called. I'm going to assume it's called something like completion. And it says go to the inline completion settings to turn that off. Okay, and so this is the part I'm worried about. Enable local full line completion suggestions. I don't want that as a beginning programmer, as somebody who's trying to learn. Lots of other people don't like it as well. But there I've got my line of code. It's going to have a print statement. It's got parentheses, and in parentheses we put what we want to print. We'll learn more about what we can print later, but for now, if we want to print words or a phrase, I'm going to put it in quotation marks. And now I'm going to find the run button up here, and I'm going to run this and see if it works. So I get a little panel at the bottom with some output, and it's got a little bit of other stuff there, some command line stuff that's going on, but right there is the output that I created. So my program is working. Okay, I'm off and running. As long as I have you here, I'm going to show one more concept, and that is I'm going to add another print statement that just says welcome to Python. And if I run it again, the idea with computer programming is that it's going to go one line at a time, and it's just going to execute them in order. So first it prints out hello world, and then it prints out welcome to Python. And notice that in Python, unlike some other programming languages, by default it goes to the next line every time we have a print statement. So it goes to the next line of output. Usually that's good, but sometimes it's not, and students need to know how to, what if I want to just keep it on that same line right after hello world? What I can do is I can go to that first print statement, and outside of the quotation marks I can put comma, and I can put end, the word end, E-N-D, which is what we call parameter. You'll learn a lot about this stuff as we go. I'm going to say end equals, and then I'll just put empty quotation marks, or empty apostrophes. It actually doesn't matter which one we do. That's specifying what happens at the end of this line of output. If I don't put that there, then it goes to the next line. If I put end equals essentially nothing, then it does nothing at the end of the line. And if I run it now, you can see it says hello world, and then it stays there, and it goes on to the next line and says welcome to Python. It's all on one line. And that's something you're going to need to know how to do for assignments and on down the road. At this point, I'm in good shape. I've got everything set up, and it seems to be running okay. So you should be ready to move on and start writing some code. As always, reach out if you have any questions.